highlights are amazing.
Why is that?
Because when you look at some stuff sometimes, when you look at players and they start talking about them, they start showing highlights.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, God, no. He just threw the ball to that guy. How did that happen? You know,
well, it depends on what highlights they show.
No,
we can make you look one way or the other.
I know. I'm saying
highlights are like spandex.
I'm talking about like the bad highlights, right? The bad ones. You're like, oh.
Well, some people's bad is really bad.
That's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean?
I'm looking at it, I'm like, ooh, yeah.
Damn.
That's
why the side of his head.
That's why they're saying Justin Fields should start.
Let's get the take from
well,
Chicago.
Actually, one person is not saying he should start.
Well, that is the question. So Shea Pepler-Cornett joins us right now on the Goodyear
Shay.
Hotline. ESPN radio host for Game Day. Also was a reporter in Chicago for a long time, so knows the Bears very well. Good morning, Shea.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
We're good. I need to. You got to help us kind of decode what Matt Nagy had to say here about Andy Dalton and whether or not he is the starter. Justin Fields, they draft him, trade up to draft him. Just let's listen to Matt Nagy first, and then go from there.
What we told Andy is that he's our starter, and he knows that, and that's what Justin knows. That's what Nick knows. You know, the rest of our coaches, and we tell these guys, knowing that there's got to be a start, right? So that's where we're at. And now, when you're in Andy's role, when you're in Justin's role, when you're in Nick's role, they know their roles, and now it's their job to be able to be the best quarterback they can be. But I'll just be very clear. That being said, does that mean that these guys aren't competing? Absolutely not. They're competing. Like, they want to be the best.
And based on that, we played your answer from Chris Collinsworth's podcast today, where you said that Andy Dalton is the starter. So we wanted clarification whether or not that means that Justin Fields cannot win the job.
Whether it's clarification that he can't win it, yes, correct. Andy Dalton is our starter.
Okay. So he said by the podcast with Chris Collinsworth, for those who don't know, that there's no possible scenario that Justin Fields is a starting quarterback. Reiterating it here, sorta. Okay, Shea, so does that mean no chance for Justin Fields, or is there still competition open? Because I think he kind of said both.
Okay, so let me tell you something about Matt Nagy, who I've known now for a couple years, and I know him pretty well. When he says something, he typically means it. And I know how coaches do. They say things, and there's ways around it. But this is what he's saying, and this is what he means. Andy Dalton is going to be the week 1 starter against the Rams. That's just what it's going to look like unless there's some sort of injury. If they put in Justin Fields before he's ready, or he comes out and he looks flat, and you deflate the entire Bears fan base in what they think Justin Fields can be, you are setting yourself back not only as a head coach and for how long you're going to be in Chicago, but you're also setting things back for Justin Fields. It makes no sense for him to do that. Look, we know what Andy Dalton is. He is average at best. He's not going to lead you to the promised land. A guy who had 14 touchdowns and 8 interceptions last year for the Dallas Cowboys. We just saw a highlight of him turning it over multiple times. I mean, he is not the answer in Chicago, but he is going to be at least until maybe week 3 or 4, or perhaps even the bye week, which I believe comes at week 10, which is a really long time. Andy Dalton's going to be the starter. With that being said, he's going to have a very short leash, just like we saw with Mitch Trubisky in the first part of the season last year. He starts turning the ball over. He starts making mental errors, making a lot of mistakes. You're going to see Justin Fields come in because Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace don't have a lot of time, but they're not just going to throw Justin Fields to the Wolves. He's not going to do it because if he looks bad and he's not ready, no one's to blame but Matt Nagy. So, yes, Andy Dalton will be the week 1 starter at the very least.
So, Matt Nagy didn't say week 1, right? Shay, he didn't say that. So as I'm listening to him and I'm trying to break him down, I kind of understand coach speak, page 109, section, I kind of get it. There's a competition that's going on. Each quarterback knows their role. He started off with Andy Dalton, then he went to Fields, and Nick Foles is probably the number 3 guy. Does it mean that the defensive side of the ball has any influence at all on who the starting quarterback should be based on the way that they perform?
Sure. Because I think we saw with Mitch Trubisky time and time again, the defense is what kept the Bears in a lot of games, basically brought them to the playoffs, especially in 2018. But the defense is going to look a lot different this year, okay? And I think for the better. You have a new defensive coordinator in Sean Desai, who knows this defense very well, was a coordinator under Vic Fangio, but you also lose a guy like Kyle Fuller. And if you're going to compare 2018 defense, the one where you had Coach Fangio at the helm and Sean Desai as a coordinator there, then you have to look at the depth that they had as the Bears defense. They don't have that kind of depth anymore, guys. They don't. You don't even know who their third pass rusher is going to be at this point. And Quinn cannot stay healthy to save his life. He's already injured. So you don't know how far along Jalen Johnson is. There's a lot of question marks on the defensive side of the ball with this team, too. They have a lot of great pieces. I mean, you're not going to look at a defense with a guy like Akeem Hicks or Khalil Mack and say, hey, this couldn't be a top 10 defense, but they've got a ways to go too. And when you lack depth, that's going to be a problem. To get back to your question, Key, yeah, if the defense shows up and is that 2018 top 5 ranked defense and can keep them in games and can turn guys like, I don't know where Aaron Rodgers is going to play, but if he is with the Green Bay Packers, can turn a guy like him over time and time again, yeah, you're going to have a little more leeway if you're Andy Dalton and you're the starter. But if the defense is slow and isn't ahead of the offense like it has been the past couple of years, it's going to be a problem. And it's all the pressure, even more so, is going to be on the starting quarterback.
Shay, let's recalibrate that line. Don't say if the defense is slow. Tell me what is going to happen this year. Will Andy Dalton be the starting quarterback for the whole year? Will it be Justin Fields?
No.
And what's up with Matt Nagy's future?
No. I think drafting Justin Fields buys some time for Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace, two guys who I like very much and I respect very much. And I do think, although there's been a few stumbling blocks along the way here, they know what it takes to have a winning football team. Look, Matt Nagy didn't walk into a Mike Glenn and Mitch Trubisky situation. I mean, didn't pick that scenario, I should say. He walked into it. What he was in with the Kansas City Chiefs was a Patrick Mahomes, Alex Smith situation. And so what he's trying to do is create that now in Chicago, now that he's been able to go out and pick the quarterback that he wants to have. So there's time now to be had. Not 5 years, maybe not 3, but at least a full season of, okay, let's see what happens here. It is not Super Bowl or bust in Chicago this year, but it is be competitive in the NFC North, especially if Aaron Rodgers is still on the Green Bay Packers, and make the playoffs or bust this year for Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. And so what do I think is going to happen? I think the defense that does lack depth is going to take a step forward because I think Desai knows this defense really well and has been there for a really long time and is really smart and can maybe utilize the personnel different than Chuck Pagano did in Chicago last year. They need to add some depth and make sure that a guy like Robert Quinn stays healthy. I think Andy Dalton is going to be your starter for the foreseeable future until he makes catastrophic mistakes. He has multiple turnovers in a game. It results in an L, and it is absolutely his fault. Maybe that's week 2. Maybe it's week 5. But I think Justin Fields, you drafted him for a reason, and you're going to see him become the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears sooner rather than later. But when he's ready, and he's not going to be a bad shadow on that coaching staff. So I don't know when that is, but I know that he's a very athletic dude that is a very smart guy. And I think once he's got a good grasp of this offense, you will see Justin Fields under the helm. I'm going to guess, guys. I'm going to guess. If I had to guess when he's going to go in there, the Bears play the Lions at home on October 3rd. That would be week 4. That's when I guess we're going to see Justin Fields. So week 4 against the Lions.
Shay, I know you've answered this question 17,000 million different times. And Justin Fields, he'd make it start week 3, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. What can he do to force their hand by week 1? What can he do?
Nothing. He can't
So
do anything.
nothing-
It's not
so-
happening.
so
It's
he
not
can't-
happening. At this point, if Matt Nagy has told us 5 different ways, 5 different times Andy Dalton's going to be the starter, he's going to be the starter. I mean, he's a liar at that point if he does it the other way around.
But he's basically, I don't want to call him a liar, but he's fudged some stuff last year with the whole Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles kind of conversations. Yeah, I don't know who I'm going to have at the start. No, you know who's starting at quarterback. You just didn't want to tell us.
No. I disagree with you. I wholeheartedly think he didn't know who was going to start at quarterback. What I think he knew is that he had a Super Bowl MVP on his bench, and Mitch Trubisky had been struggling out of the gate, but the Bears drafted him so high and gave up so much draft capital that they had to at least give it one more try. And so they did. And when he constantly turned the ball over against the Atlanta Falcons, who had a terrible defense at the time, he said, I can't do this anymore. My job's at risk. Put Foles in. And Foles just didn't pan out to be the guy you thought he was going to be. But people thought Foles was going to be the answer in Chicago.
So
he
he
knew that
can't-
offense inside and out.
So you saying Justin Fields can't have splash plays in training camp and then whatever in preseason really just start to like light it up to the point where you look at it and you go, much like Pete Carroll did with Russell Wilson and what was the
Seattle.
quarterback that they paid all the money to?
Matt
Not Matt Flynn.
wasn't
Matt
it?
Flynn. Yeah, Matt Flynn.
Yeah.
He can't come to that sort of resolution